See, tell me if you see,
Yeah, yes, we can see your
do you
screen now.
see this? Do you see this right now?
We just see a blank page. We are
Just a
sharing a
blank
blank.
page.
Yes.
Okay, let me try something else. Let me stop sharing and let me try something else here. 1 second. I'm going to try and share my entire screen. So share entire screen here. Okay, now tell me what you
Yeah, we
see
see the
here.
the module as well.
You see that you see where it says
The
telecom signaling
signal
module
from.
one.
Yes, yes, it's
Okay.
clear.
And again, all I see is, let me hide this right here. All I can see is my screen. So if you have a question, I can't see if you raise your hand or anything like that. So just we'll just do it this way. This is not ideal, but again, I only have one screen and my laptop, so we'll just do it this way. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you again for joining. And we left off last Friday, I think we were right here. Let me go to that slide. We were talking about mobile network operators. So again, we talked about things. Let's just go back and review a few things. We talked about billing and a little overview on roaming, data and financial clearinghouses, which are companies like a Necto, like a Star Home, like EDCH, that do the settlement of accounts when you're roaming. So again, just some high level look at just some of the players in the market. We looked at standards and groups that set the standards, and primarily today the group for telecom, the two groups today really are going to be these right here. One is going to be third generation partnership project, and the other one, since more and more in telecom today deals with data, you're going to have standards that come out of the Internet Engineering Task Force. That's just those are kind of the two overall groups that we'll be dealing with for standards the most. The other one is the Trade Association, which is the GSM Association. A lot of the security recommendations come out of the GSMA. They don't write standards, but they're very powerful because they represent all the mobile network operators and the value added providers and excuse me, companies like that. So the GSM Association, even though they don't write standards, they certainly have recommendations, and they do write things like recommendations for security, which is a big deal today. We then talk about mobile network operators. These are the companies that own the radio license, which is between the mobile, and it doesn't have to be a mobile. It can be a laptop, it can be an iPad, it can be a sensor somewhere, but the device at the end that uses the radio waves, that's part of the network. The mobile network operators own that frequency. They also own the cell towers, and they also own the core networks, and they own the signaling network. So they have an entire network. They're responsible for interconnection. They're responsible for providing these types of services, which are services that you would use every day: your voice, your short message service, access, routing, all of these things, all these services you use. So that's a mobile network operator. Worldwide, there's a couple hundred of these mobile network operators. Again, these are the large providers. These are the largest ones in the world. The top six are in Southeast or in Far East Asia or Southeast Asia, from China and India and so on. And seven, of course, Indonesia. And then there's next three in the United States. And so you can see a lot of these are in the Far East or the Southeast. So these are the largest ones in the world. Now, there's also such a thing. This is where we need to start today. There's also such a thing as a virtual operator. Well, what's a virtual operator? Well, remember, the mobile network operators, these large ones, they are responsible for the radio license. They're responsible for cell towers, the switching equipment. They're responsible for all of these things. Those are the mobile network operators. The mobile virtual network operators have just a portion of that. So in other words, you might have a mobile network operator. I drew a kind of just what a mobile network operator would have. They would have the radio and the core network, and they would be responsible for maybe the applications, excuse me, the customer billing, and all of these things. So that would be a MNO. Well, an MVNO would lease capacity from the mobile network operator and resell as another provider. So they'll resell under a different name. So the mobile network operator might have geographic areas that are maybe somewhat remote. Maybe they can't really they own the radio license, but they can't really make any money in these, let's say, small remote area. So they'll lease that capacity. They'll lease those licenses to a virtual operator, and the virtual operator will operate as if they were a full operator, because from the customer's point of view, whether it's a mobile network operator or a virtual operator, they don't know the difference. I mean, how would someone know who owns the radio license? You don't. You just want to buy a mobile phone and have it work. So you have different types of these virtual operators. One being a full mobile virtual operator. They don't own the radio license, but they really have enough. They have enough capital that they can have a core network. They can have the applications. They can have the customer billing. They can do all these things. That would be a full mobile virtual network operator. There's different terms that are used here, but another one is what they call a thick MVNO, and they might have part of the core network, but not all of it. Or a light MVNO would not have any of this here, not have anything over towards the left, but they would have applications and billing and so on. Then you've got maybe a thin MVNO, which only has customer services. Then you might have just what they call kind of a strange name, a skinny MVNO. All they would maybe have is sell the handset. So you could have Raphael's telephone mobile network, and Raphael could now set up a storefront and sell just mobile phones. The customer doesn't know the difference because Raphael might advertise in the window worldwide coverage, and he would lease the capacity of these other services from another group or from another mobile network operator. So those are called mobile virtual network operators. So you have full mobile network operators, and now you have virtual operators. And there are many of those. These are the largest MVNOs in the world. Yeah, please. Sure. That's really going to vary because these terms here where it says skinny or thin or light, those are kind of like just not even industry terms. Those are just kind of terms that people say, well, you only own a portion of this. So it really depends on how much of the network they own and how much of the network they have to lease out. Because if you were to be an MVNO, you still have to provide services. You still have to do billing. You still have to do customer care. You still have to do marketing and sales. Whether you do it as a company and hire more people, or whether you hire that out or lease that capacity from either the mobile network operator or another group, and we're going to talk about that in a second. There's another group that provides these services. So which one it falls under is kind of it's kind of a loose term almost. It really depends on how much of the network they have themselves and how much of the network they have to hire out or lease out. Good question. Anything else? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Steve,
yeah,
thank you very
please.
much. Just a small question. I just wanted to find, so to have a full network, a company or a business needs to have the radio network, the core network, the application, the customer billing, like a full pack. Is that what makes a full network?
Really, what makes a full network? It's a good question. Really, what makes a full network is this part right here: the radio license. And these companies would have had to go to the government in the United States. That would be the Federal Communications Commission. But these companies would have to go to the government and buy or purchase or somehow have a license to operate at those frequencies. That's really what makes a full network. Sometimes the full networks even, they might hire a different company, or they might contract with a different company to provide applications and customer billing. So the real thing that makes a full mobile network operator is that right there, that radio license, and that they have their own core network.
So, would it
Yes, but that would not be. I mean, it's possible, but if you own the radio license, which is very expensive, you also own the core network, and you also have a company that you now provide service, like MTN. So a company would not go out and just say, okay, I have the license for the radio. Now I'm going to lease out that. I'm going to rent out or use out that capacity to someone else. They would have a network. It's just they would also lease capacity to another group, and that other group would then provide service. And oftentimes they do this because sometimes, let's say in Ghana that you have Raphael's telephone company, and he leases his capacity from MTN, and then someone else comes along and says, "Oh, I'm mad at MTN. I don't want them. I'm going to go to Raphael. I'll teach them a lesson. I'll go to Raphael." So they go to Raphael. It's the same network. It's the same network, though it's leased capacity. They get their bill from Raphael's telephone company, but it's really the same physical network. So oftentimes these MVNOs, these mobile virtual network operators, are just overlays of the other company, and it profits both of them. And the MTN would get money from Raphael for leasing the capacity, and Raphael makes money because people that would have had MTN are now in his company. So it's really very much a win-win for these different companies. Does that make sense? Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a good word. I never thought of that. Clever is a good word, though. It really is. That really is. Yeah, something. See, instead of doing this, you should have had Raphael's mobile telephone company. So these are according to, I forget the website, but these are the top mobile virtual network operators in the world. Some of the ones that I recognize here is Cricket is kind of big in the United States. Virgin Mobile is big. Some of these other ones, Metro, I've heard of. I've never heard of GiftGaff down here. Let's see. Yeah, Consumer Cellular. That's another one I've heard of. And in the United States, a virtual operator will, and this is true everywhere, but in the United States, these are the ones that are associated with the largest providers. So these are the mobile virtual network operators in the United States. So the ones that are with AT&T are these. The ones that are with T-Mobile, the ones that are with Verizon. Some of them like this Wing. Wing is associated with all three of them, so they have basically coverage everywhere, and they're associated with each MNO, or each those mobile virtual operators are tied to the mobile network operators. Some of these are very strange names too. I mean, Red Pocket, I've never heard of that. And sure. Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. If they don't own the license though, they are a MVNO. Yeah. Not sure. Just to kind of expand themselves. I mean, that's a good point. Sometimes these companies like Google, why would they need to why would they need to even do something like this? Well, again, it's just kind of their brand, their name. Hey, look at, we not only do searches, we not only do marketing, but we also do mobile telecom. In reality, they don't own the radio license. They just lease the capacity at some degree from the mobile network operator. Yeah, yeah, it's like you said. I'm going to use that word again, Raphael. The clever. It is. Good. There's a this bestmvno.com, www.bestmvno. That's a, if you wanted to search out here in the US, they do that. I'm sure it's worldwide. If you do this best MVNO, it tells you what the best MVNO is. Like I said, at least in the United States. So if I was searching out a mobile virtual network operator, let's say I got my operator is Verizon right here. Let's say I'm tired of Verizon. I want to go to someone else. I would go to that website and it would tell me the pros and the cons of all these different companies. So yeah, that's an MVNO, mobile virtual network operator. Now, another acronym, mobile virtual network enabler. Okay, what is a Yep. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely you could. Yeah, yeah, very much so. It could be one in the same company. Yep, very much. Good. Anything else? Okay. So on top of a mobile virtual network operator is a mobile virtual network enabler. What in the world is an enabler? Well, again, let's use Raphael. Raphael's mobile telecom company. Raphael wants to start up a mobile telecom company. Okay. So has to get certain things, but there's a lot of things that he needs to do to start a company. He needs to have someone provision the SIM cards, the subscriber identity module, someone that configures the SIMs, someone that does charging, someone that has maybe customer relation. I mean, because people might have complaints. He might have to track services. He has to provide billing. How would he as a startup do that? Well, Raphael would go to Transitel or Cineverse or Plintron, and they would provide services. So Raphael's mobile telecom company could look like MTN. His mobile company could look like a big operator, even though all he's doing is maybe he's just selling the handsets. Maybe he's down here at the skinny MVNO. Maybe all he's doing is providing marketing and sales, and he's actually selling the mobile phones. but someone still has to provide all of these services. You still need a company that provides the services. Plus, you need to lease the capacity of a network, unless he's very large and has his own hardware and his own equipment for a network. So what Raphael does is he goes to one of these companies and they provide services. So now he can open up his company because he provides these services. So that's MVNE. So you have a mobile network operator, you have a mobile virtual network operator, and you have a mobile virtual network enabler. Now, is that all the acronyms? Not quite. There's also mobile virtual network aggregators. What's an aggregator? Well, think of an aggregator as kind of like a broker almost. This mobile network operator here, it doesn't want to deal with the small MVNOs here. It doesn't, if Raphael doesn't want to knock on the door and say, hey, I want to lease capacity. So what this large mobile network operator like MTN does, they lease their access and they lease their capacity to an aggregator like Lintron, like Telecom Digital House Group, like Artera. They actually lease the capacity here to one of these, and then the small operator like Raphael would go to here instead of directly into the mobile network operator. The mobile network operator, this mobile network operator right here, does not want to deal directly with all of these companies. So what the large mobile network operator will do is they will go to an aggregator and sell their capacity to that aggregator. And then these smaller MVNOs will go to the aggregator. So again, kind of a confusing thing. A lot of acronyms, a lot of terms, but it really is this. Just here's kind of a summary of that. A mobile network operator is the one that provides the network. They are the full everything end-to-end network. Think of MTN, that, or Vodafone, or Deutsche Telekom, or AT&T, Rogers. These are the large network operators, and that's, I'm going to go back a few slides. That's these companies right here. That's these large companies in the world that provide that own the radio license. Network aggregator buys access to the network from the mobile network operator. So these are think of the aggregators like the brokers. These are the large brokers that the mobile network operators sell their capacity to. So a mobile virtual network operator buys access to the network from either a mobile network operator or from an aggregator. So this operator right here, Raphael, either has to go to a mobile network operator or a mobile virtual network operator to have to gain access to the license to provide mobile services. And how much he has to access and lease out really depends on the size of his company. If he's a small company that only sells the handsets, then he's got to have someone else provide the billing and the customer care and the SIM provision and all these other things, either from the mobile network operator or from an enabler. A mobile virtual operator, again, like Raphael, may contract with a mobile virtual network enabler to provide infrastructure services. So like this guy shows, it's a little confusing, but this is just, again, these are terms that are out there in the mobile network industry. So yeah, there's quite a bit. Let's look at another thing in the mobile industry, and that's an SMS, short message service. First of all, there's two types of short message services. Short message service, that's where you take your mobile phone and you put your phone number of your friend in there and say, hi, how are you today? And you send it, and off it goes. That is called person to person. Person to person is you just text to someone else. The other type of SMS is called application to person. An application to person is like a reminder of an appointment, two-factor authentication. You use your mobile phone to go to your bank, and your bank says, we're going to send you a text message to prove this is really who you are. So that originates an application. This could be marketing. This could be booking. Could be there's this two-factor authentication. Anytime the short message that you receive on your mobile phone originates from a machine rather than a person, it's called application to person. So that's the two types of SMS: person to person, application to person. Person to person, you are connected directly to the network. So you're out here and you tap out a short message, you're connected directly to the network, and the network finds who you send the message to. How does it work when an application sends you something? Well, you have many, many, many different companies over here on the left-hand side. You have large, huge companies, enterprises. You have maybe small to medium businesses. You have enterprises. You have what are known as limited liabilities. Maybe you own a business all by yourself. You're a sole proprietor. And you have all these corporations, and multiply those times thousands. Well, let's say all of those thousands of companies out there want to send some kind of appointment reminder or some kind of text to you. They don't connect directly to the network like person to person. The network doesn't want to get thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of these text messages to remind you that you have an appointment. So what they do is they have a common format through these application providers, and they send their messages to what are known as short message service aggregators. Companies like Anecto, companies like Mata, companies like PCCW, companies like Knox Solutions. These are SMS aggregators. These companies will package up in these short messages, and they will then send them to the network. So the network is not getting tens of thousands of these connections over here. You're only getting a few connections from these SMS aggregators. So these are companies that provide aggregation, or they kind of like these companies will funnel everything into these aggregators for the purpose of application. Now, again, you as an individual, person to person, that's different. Person to person is you into the network, but applications have to go through an aggregator. Let me see what we're talking about. Yeah, let's go to a couple more slides. What time is it? Yeah, we can do a couple more slides. There's other parts of the industry for data. Now, let's talk about data a second. Let's say you want to use your mobile phone and you want to talk to someone, you're in your home network and you want to call someone. Well, you use the services of that local network, and it terminates on another network, or it terminates, let's say you call to a wire line. So you call a business or your home and it has a wire line. Well, that's just within the network. Suppose you want to use your mobile phone for data. Okay, so you can access the data network from your phone. The mobile network will connect you to the World Wide Web or to some other data type of network. Let's say you're roaming. I'm here now. I'm in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam right now. When I want to use the local services for my mobile phone, I can call someone locally and it'll work that way. But when I want to use data, Vietnam now has a data tunnel back to the United States and Verizon. When I type in www anything, that data is transported back to my home network. I access the World Wide Web from the home network. That's called home routing, because my home network, they want to know how much data I'm using. They're allowing me so many megabytes or so many gigabytes per month. Well, the only way they can measure how much data that I'm using is they send the data back home. They do this through tunnels. It's kind of like a virtual private network. They're called GPRS tunnels. And this is called the IP exchange. The IP, the Internet Protocol Exchange, are the networks that provide that tunneling service back to my home network. So in the old days, and don't worry about these acronyms here, but in the older days, it used to be something called the GRX, kind of a strange name, GPRS exchange. Today, it's called the IP, right here, the IP exchange. And the IP exchange, the one that carries your business back to your home network. So you access data, you access the internet from your home network. It's kind of a little bit of a different concept. But again, just think of it as the home network they want to monitor your data. And the best way to do that is just to tunnel that data. And data goes quick. It goes around the world very quick. But they monitor that by providing a tunnel from the visited system, Vietnam, where I'm at, back to my home system near Chicago. And it does that through these data tunnels. One more slide. For roaming, these networks have to talk to each other. Well, you have all of these hundreds of mobile networks throughout the world, and they sign roaming agreements with almost everyone else. So that allows you to roam anywhere in the world. Well, in order to roam, these networks need to talk to each other. It would not be feasible for let's just, for the sake of talking here, let's just say there's 200 mobile network operators in the world. If you tried to connect 200 operators, you would just it'd be massive. So rather than all of them connect together, they go through these like hubs, these hub providers. These are called signaling aggregators. And there's companies like TNS, Transaction Network Services, Starhome, Cineverse, iBasis, PCCW. These are the large signaling providers in the world, and they charge these mobile network operators. So every mobile network operator on the outside of all of these, they don't need to connect to everyone else. They connect to one of their signaling providers, and all the signaling providers in the middle here, they all talk to each other. So if you send a message from here, let's say you want to go from this network down to this network here, these two networks do not need to connect to each other. They connect to their own signaling provider, and they will communicate this way. This is for things like roaming. When you roam another network, these two networks have to communicate with each other. They have to know who you are. Are you a valid participant? They have to also provide billing. There's a lot of signaling that goes back and forth for the purpose of roaming. So these are other industry participants, are your signaling aggregators. So you have signaling aggregators. You have the IP exchange for data. You have short message service aggregators, and you have other providers just like a MVNO, which is an aggregator for services. Questions?
Yes. Hello. I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Yes, it is somehow sometimes very strange that even though we are in Africa and let's say I'm in Ghana and I'm roaming, I'm in Ivory Coast, which is just a neighbor, but the roaming cost between Ghana and Ivory Coast is somehow a little bit higher than if I were to be in UK using the same mobile network. How did the aggregators come by that? Because sometimes, even though you think you are in Africa and you are visiting an African country, the cost of roaming is higher than if we are rather in overseas in Europe. So how did the aggregators come by that to become that expensive?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's true. Sometimes your roaming is very local. It's roaming, but you're on a different network and it's local, and yet the cost is higher than if you go to the United Kingdom. That's what you're saying, correct? Yeah, these companies, they sign roaming agreements, and sometimes if you stay within, let's say you stay within Africa and it's MTN in one country, then MTN in the Ivory Coast and MTN in Ghana, it's the same MTN, but the cost is higher than if you get on an airplane and fly to Frankfurt or fly to London or something. That's true. I, I can't answer the whys there. That's just how they sign their different agreements. That's very true though. Sometimes the roaming is not this, because when you roam somewhere, that company gets charged. In other words, if you have MTN Ghana and you get on an airplane and fly to Dublin, Ireland, and you use Vodafone, Vodafone charges MTN for you to use their network. Now, you don't get a bill from Vodafone at the end of the month. Vodafone doesn't bill you, but they do bill MTN Ghana, and MTN Ghana bills that in. But likewise, when someone from Dublin flies into Accra, and they use their mobile phone, they're also charged. MTN Ghana is now going to charge Vodafone, and that's where this comes in right here. That's where this comes in. That's where these settlement of accounts come in. The reason why, if these networks charge more, that's just their agreement. I agree. It doesn't seem almost right that the further you go, but the distance has nothing to do with it. It's what each network agrees on. One network agrees that we will charge this much for the people that come into our network. Another network says we're going to charge this much, and then these roaming clearinghouses do the settlement of the accounts. So yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why, but that's how it does work.
Thank you.
Good point. Good point. Okay, let me do this and let me do this to get rid of my infinity. There we go. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you very much. My plans are to be here again Friday. I'll set my alarm, and it's 1:30. So I'm gonna head to bed now. And we will see you. We'll see. Yeah, it's next week will be the same thing. The week after that, I'll be back in Chicago, so it'll be middle of the day again. So, but thank you all very much. Thank you, and we'll see you in 2 days. And have a great rest of your training. Thank you.